Here's the tool after I've cleaned it up. It's the shape I want. The first heat treatment that we've just done was all about annealing it and getting it to shape. The second heat treatment is going to be hardening. In other words, we're going to heat this up to what's called a cherry red. That's a particular bright red, and then we're going to plunge it into this pot of oil. This is just basically ordinary sump car oil, nothing special about it. What can happen when this goes in, bright red, into the oil, vapors, if we're not careful, can ignite. So we do need a wet rag like this to be able to push that over there and make sure that goes out. So that's just a little safety thing. It doesn't always happen. In fact, it's unusual, but it can happen. So the second heat treatment now is going to be this hardening. And after that, we have a third treatment where we take some of the hardness off and make it a little bit more resilient, and that's called tempering. So let's heat this thing up again. Is getting red hot, but I don't just want it red hot. I want it to sort of go to a particularly sort of orangey red, which they call cherry red, because then something happens in the metal. So I want to make sure that's all quite uniform, and I sort of want to hang around at that heat for a little while. It's pretty much there, sort of about that's where it is. So that's a nice bright orange, and then I'm going to plunge this into the oil. And move it around like this. Woo. So nothing ignited there. So I've gone straight into the oil, and there's the oil dripping off. And what that has done is suddenly and very quick, suddenly dropped the temperature down, really cooled it, and that sort of keeps a certain hardness in the crystal. So when that's really cool, we can have a good look at that. So the end of this hardening, you can see that the tool is black because of the oil that's been burnt into the surface. And this tool is now really hard. If I use this tool like this, the edge is too hard and brittle. So what I will have to do is to what's called temper it. And in order to do the tempering, I need to see certain colours happening, which relate to the temperature. So what I need to do first of all is actually polish this surface up. So I've got to clean all this up first of all. So that's going to be my next job. Clean the whole tool with fine emery paper. The last stage is tempering the tool, taking away some of that brittleness and getting it a bit more resilient. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my blowtorch with a smaller head here and put a bit of heat here. And you'll see colours changing on the surface, which is why I've polished it up. And those colours are the same sort of colours that happen when you make a tool go blue on the grinding wheel. And then I'm going to use my torch and sort of float it up until I get a particular one of those colours, a little spectrum of colours. I'm going to, when it gets to here, to the actual edge, and I'm going to dip it in the water quickly. And that quenching locks that colour in. Now the colour I want is, and it goes from a very light straw to a dark straw to a sort of bronzy colour to a blue, which is what you get when you use the grinding wheel too vigorously. It's the medium straw colour. So it's a little tricky to see, but hopefully you'll be able to see this happening. So let me just fire up the blowtorch. Because it's such a light bit of heating, I can hold this tool in my hand now. Okay, so watch what happens when I just put a little bit of heat here on this edge here. It's quite a thick bit of metal, so it'll take a little bit of time to warm this bit up. Now let's just go around here. So this part of the tool remains soft, it remains annealed and not hard at all. Here it comes. Now can you see that sort of slight change in colour? Okay, that colour there is a sort of bronzy colour. And if I add a bit more heat, you see it's getting a bit darker. Right, so here it comes. So this is now the sort of bluey colour happening that you get when you overheat the tool. So here it is coming. Now do you notice that there's a gradation of heat? There's a blue going from this way to that way. Can you see that? I hope quite clearly. So it goes from the blue, which is the colour we don't want, and then there's this little spectrum of colours both ways. So what I have to do now from this sump of heat is sort of just very lightly warm this side of the tool up here and move it into the blade. See that colour coming through. See, there's more blue down here, but that's good. So the bronzy colour is moving up. It's probably difficult to see, but I can see that the colour is now moving. Whoops, that's all right. Moving into that end here. Right, so I can see a gradation of colour, and it's slowly working its way up. I don't really have to put much more heat in. It's fairly uniform. Whoops. Keep doing that, but it's not quite at the temperature yet. And there it is. There's the bronze colour coming through. Leave it on this side and straight in. So now we can see. It's all cold as well. So how we can see this bronze colour here coming through. It's dark here, getting lighter and lighter and lighter. Then it's uniformly across there. So that's taken some of that hardness out. So what we have to do now is sharpen the tool up. What I do normally is I leave some of this colour. I think this is quite nice. I might leave it on the inside or I might leave it on the outside, but just sharpen it up and see how it goes. These colours are quite superficial, so they easily come off. So I'm just going to clean those off here. And I'll leave the colours on the inside, I think. Yeah, so I'm going to leave these colours in here. I think that looks quite nice. What I've done in sharpening is remove the heel here so that the whole tool can make this sort of scoop, which is what I want. And look at that. That's beautiful. So that's a way of just altering the shape of a tool so that you've got something that's more useful.